What's going on, everyone? It's Mike, it's John back again. Your match debrief. Everton nil, Roma 1. Everton Legends 2, Roma nil. You okay?
Yeah, good, you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been an interesting couple of days really for both us and the channel, hasn't it, really? Flyers and whatever yesterday. Let's just I think firstly, I hope you don't mind me just throwing this in here. I want to probably spend a couple of minutes talking about you guys because the love we received over the last 2 days was genuinely really warming. Like, we had so many people approach us. We had people asking us to do recordings. You know who you are, by the way. The people that asked us to do recordings for their wives and family members, and it was it was a surreal day for me personally, John. What about you? What was your thoughts?
It was a busy couple of days for us, wasn't it? You know, we were up there on Friday night. We recorded from Flyers. I just want to say, obviously, the people who did come up to us, I don't like all the huffle and the kerfuffle of people coming over and recognising us, because that I've said that, yes, that's not me. But listen, on the other side, it is nice as well that people want to come and speak to you in person. And I seen one of the comments in the video from yesterday saying, there was someone in Flyers who wanted to come over to us and they didn't have the bottle to come and say
Yeah,
hello. So
yeah,
they said, we don't bite. And yeah, it is nice. It is nice to put faces to the names who comment, you know, and obviously vice versa. It's nice for people to come up to us and see us in real life. So yeah, it was nice. But I also want to give a shout out to Matt and the staff. I mean, from Friday night when we went there, and yesterday we were there for most of the day, apart from obviously when we were left to go the game. They've made us feel very. They were very accommodating to me and you, and Frankie couldn't. Matt couldn't speak highly enough of Frankie as well. And looks like my lad's got a little glass collecting job there on match days. So Matt's been fantastic with me and you. We also had other people who come in to see us, who you sent me over to talk to. I'll call Paul, who also looks like he wants to work with me and you and Matt, and you know, put more on in Flyers, because at the end of the day, it'll be good for us as a channel, but it'll be good for Matt as well to, you know, to make him busier and for it not just to be a golf bar, because we mentioned the teething problems that we had yesterday and Matt had, and he'll be the first to admit that, yeah, the pump should have been there, but unfortunately that's out of his control till the 14th of this month. He needed more staff. He openly admitted that as well. So listen, Matt knows what needs to be polished up on from yesterday, and it will all be up and running properly for the Brighton game in 2 weeks.
which I've seen some of the comments in the videos. I've seen the comments on Facebook, Twitter. There's a lot of people that were said a lot of the bars, even the stadium, had teething problems. So, I thought, and I think you're right to absolutely allude to it. They did a tremendous job yesterday. And they'll have, I think it's 8 points. They're going to have various different points, various different price points of beers as well. So, there's going to be a good range. Um, there's going to be more staff. There's going to be, Frankie earned himself a little bit of money doing the flyers, and I mean, mate, you were instrumental in making sure that people were in the bar and they're having drinks and having a good chat with you. And I did a bit of everything yesterday. I was on the car park, I was on the flyers, I was helping with the putting some stalls out. I said that in the morning when I got there, is there anything they needed, because it really was a team effort yesterday. And although Flyers, are the channel sponsors, it was really important to me that both for Matt and his business, and equally us as a channel, it come across well. And I think we all did a good job yesterday. So yeah, I'm immensely proud of everything that we all put together, and I do hope that we all continue to see you in Flyers. And some of the comments we had, some of the love we got. I mean, I have got some names that I've got to mention. Maureen, Jimmy, Roy, Dave, Alan, Ashley, Mike, Mark. there was so many people I said I'd give shout outs to. So look, if I've missed you off, Martin, if I've missed you out, I apologise. But there were so many people that come up to us yesterday and were saying lovely things. It genuinely blew me away, and there was two surreal moments for me yesterday, John. I don't know if you had one, but I was in the stadium watching the game, and somebody about 25 rows away turned round and took a picture of me and put his thumb up. Didn't say hello to me, said nothing. I was like, I was like, oh. And then he's messaged me on Instagram, and I will reply to it. I have seen it, just saying, I couldn't get out to say hello to you, but it was lovely to actually see you, and that's really nice. And then there was another moment. I was driving back on the M6. I'm nowhere near Liverpool at this point. I'm by Stoke, and somebody overtook me, looked over, realised it was me, and put his thumb up and started flashing. So really, really weird day. And we had some lovely comments. I mean, I especially had some lovely comments. Lovely comments. People met me for the first time in real life, and I'm slimmer, I'm better looking. I was over the moon, John. Over the moon.
Yeah, well, it's about time that you got a bit of the praise for how you're looking and how much weight you've lost, because it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Because you've always been quite overweight and quite a big lad. And, it's probably all the holidays that you have put that bit of glow on your face. So when you stop going on holiday again, you're going to go back to an ugly fucker, aren't you?
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, dear. But yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was a good day. It was a good day. Right. So you got anything you want to mention before we move on, or any questions that got asked yesterday, anything like that?
No. Again, I just want to reiterate what you've said and what I said before. It was nice for people to come over, and the one for me in the comments was they were a bit starstruck and didn't have the bottle to come over to say hello. You know, things like that. You do sit there and you think, bloody hell. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice. And also, just before we move on to the debrief as well, I also want to mention, don't know if you've seen it, been a few people putting in the comments, I don't know if you've read them, about the watch that you were wearing. Now, I'm not a watch person, so for me, your watch could be off Temu, or it could be a £7,000 watch. I don't know. But I don't know if you want to tell people what sort of watch it is, because apparently you've had a lot of good comments about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, appreciate it. One of my little things. I try, I try not to show off about these things, but my sort of, I really like watches. So I've got a bit of a collection, and probably the crown jewel was what I was wearing yesterday. So yeah, the watch I was wearing yesterday was a Tudor Black Bay chrono. A few people mentioned it, but yeah, I do like my watches, and that's probably the best one I've got. So yeah, thank you everyone for noticing, and yeah, I've got it on now. Yeah, so
Watch is a watch to me, as long as it tells you the time. I don't give a shit what a Tudor colour it is, to be fair.
I get it, and it's not a showy off thing. Honestly, I don't have much, but I do. I just like a nice watch. That's sort of me go to. What did you say last week? Clarnard to fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, right. Let's talk about the game, and then let's talk about some breaking news from this afternoon. Yeah. We mentioned it. We were poor. We were poor for a lot of the game. We created chances and moments, but nothing was really on target. And as soon as we started making those changes, we dropped out the game completely. I'll talk about the positives. Drewsbury Hall, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was a really good debut for him against a decent side yesterday. What was your take on him?
Well, we spoke about Dewsbury Hall and how much he'd improve us from the minute he coming through the door. When you seen that yesterday, he seemed to be head and shoulders more than the majority of that team yesterday. He stood out. He picked the ball up. He run at the opposition. He's one of them players who will probably win you a lot of fouls as well because of how he plays. And I just thought yesterday he did create a few chances for us. You know, he wasn't scared to put a tackle in. He wasn't scared to pick the ball up. And also nice comments from him. He said about the reception he got. He was blew away by how loud it was. So I think Dewsbury Hall and Everton Football Club and us as fans, I think this is going to be a good connection that we're going to have with him, because you could see yesterday what he's capable of.
Yeah, there was a couple of moments where he sort of turned on the ball, he carried it forward, he created a good opportunity for Barry, who completely missed his shot, but he did create that opportunity. And there was a few lovely touches where he'll turn or he'll jink away. He took about 2 or 3 players on and managed to pass it out wide a few times. And to be honest, in the nicest possible way, he stood out yesterday. If I'm being honest, he stood out, and he stood out over. It's usually Enjoy that stands out, and I don't think he particularly stood out yesterday, being honest. I thought Dewsbury Hall had a really, really good debut. Looked really composed. Sometimes in our midfield, we looked like a bit like headless chickens, but he was just prepared to get a foot in. Typical number 8, carry the ball forward, pass it off. I was really happy with that person. I was really, really happy, and it's about time we've had a player like that. Talking about other midfielders, we were hoping for a big game from another central midfielder who played a little bit deeper, and we didn't quite get that.
But we spoke about this, didn't we, after James Garner put that performance in pre-season against Man United. It's all right doing it a 1 in 10. Me, you and Millsy have sort of labelled him with that now. He's a 1 in 10 performer. And we did say on here, you want to see it consistently for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, playing in the deeper role. And then we can obviously sit there and we can say, well, maybe dropping him back deeper, that's where you're going to get the best of James Garner, because that's what we've seen against Man United in pre-season. And yesterday, for me, he was just non-existent again. So it was just back to the old James Garner yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, did you watch the game? What was like? We've had so many comments about like the pattern of play and the style of football and the way that we've played so much on the left and we've got no options on the right. And me and you were talking about it very quickly in the match reaction, but if we don't address this right-hand side, I'm really worried about this, and we'll talk about the links that we've got with certain players, but I am really, really worried about this right-hand side of this pitch.
Well, when you look at the setup yesterday, Michael, and you look at the performance from Everton, granted it was pre-season, so we can't get ahead of ourselves too much, but it's our last pre-season game, that, and the team and the formation and the setup, because we're that weak on the right-hand side, it's so unbalanced, it's untrue. And I actually think we're probably the most unbalanced team in the Premier League going into this new season, because we've got absolutely nothing on the right. So then everything has to go down the left-hand side. And obviously Michalenko going off and the young kid coming on, that was a baptism of fire for him, because, listen, I'm not going to stand here and slag a 19-year-old off who's been here a week. But again, I just don't think he's Premier League ready yet. And we've seen that with certain players. We've seen it with him. There's other players in like Barry. I don't think he's Premier League ready yet. And again, I'm not standing here slagging him off. It's just an opinion that I don't think they're ready to go into a Premier League match against a Leeds side. Now, what worries me if Michalenko's out for a few weeks, Nonto will absolutely tear that new left back, a new one. And it worries me. Now, I know we've been linked with players today, and I know we're going to start talking about them, but we need to be linked with more than one certain player, in my opinion, because we need 4, 5, 6 players who can come in and actually challenge these players now for the starting place straight away, because we're not ready for the Premier League. The team's not ready for it. We're not good enough, in my opinion. And there is more pressing areas than others in the team that need strengthening. We need 2 right wingers, and I'm still going to say it again. I still think we need another striker. When you look at Barry, who's raw, listen, he could be brilliant in 12 months, 18 months. When you look at Beto, it was had a poor pre-season, in my opinion. It looks like David Moyes doesn't really fancy Chimiti. So again, we're still stuck with the problem that we've had for years, that our strikers aren't going to score you enough goals. And when you haven't got enough goals from your strikers and you haven't really got enough goals from midfield, again, we're going to struggle in that department of scored enough goals to win us games.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about. You know, me and you said this at the end of the season. We literally said we need the players to be ready for Roma last pre-season game, i.e., running into Leeds, and that means your Barrys, your Asnus, your whoever else, these younger players that we're bringing into this football team. It is getting them Premier League ready, because you know Mikalenko suffers with injuries. We know that he regularly misses, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 games a season, maybe, or you know he definitely picks up knocks. And Barry, you don't go and score 11 goals in the league if you're a rubbish striker. You don't. So I 100% believe there is a striker there, but again, I think he's only played something like 100 and it's something like 150 minutes. It might even be less as an Everton player. And one of those games was against Roma, not a Premier League team. So it's like they haven't had enough to be able to adjust. And then when you're replacing Mikalenko, who's been injured, and you're replacing Beto, who look, I think it's abundantly obvious that Moyes isn't a huge fan of Beto. And that's not a dig at Beto, because he managed to get goals out of him last season. He got 10 goals out, I think, Beto last season. But I think his all-round play probably doesn't tick the David Moyes boxes. And I think Barrett has got the capability of his all-round play ticking the David Moyes boxes. But he's a young lad. It's going to take time. We get that. We don't have a ready, polished striker that ticks David Moyes' boxes. And that's the point I'm making. And I don't know who now would be available at that price point, which would have to be either a loan or very little money unless we sold Beto to come in. On top of that, Chimiti appeared to be played on the left wing yesterday when he come on. And, you know, he had a few little nice touches. He carried the ball well. He had a fantastic pre-season last season. But let's be fair, we haven't even seen enough of him to judge him. And he's been here two years now. And he wasn't fancied by Moyes last season. He played Brozier over him. You've got nothing on the right-hand side of the pitch. You know, I felt sorry for Jake O'Brien yesterday because he had to play as a right winger, a right back, and he is a centre half by trade. Now, don't get me wrong, he's been a good right back, but he's not a right winger. He shouldn't be bombing up having to try and deliver crosses. I mean, he's got an engine on him. Fair play to him. But if you do that for 38 games of him, you're going to kill him. You're going to kill him. So there's so many little issues that I noticed yesterday in this team, and we just haven't recruited quick enough. It's abundantly obvious. And then when you're looking at players we keep getting linked with, they all play on the left. They all play on the left. And I don't know how you address that without signing a right back and a right winger.
Well, I think it's obvious that we've got to sign a right back and we've got to sign a right winger. Again, the only cover for Jake O'Brien is Nathan Patterson or Shaman Coleman when he's fit, and when Patterson's fit, because he can have his fair share of injuries as well. Now, if you don't address that right-hand side and you're playing Jake O'Brien as a right back with no one in front of him, you're going to burn him out by Christmas, because, again, as you said before, he's not a right winger, and by trade, he's not a right back. But when you're asking him to bomb up and down that line and get in behind the opposition's fullback and get crosses in, it then leaves you short at the back then. And we haven't really got the pace in midfield for any of the midfielders to have to drop back in to cover Jake O'Brien if he's had to bomb down the right-hand side. We're not blessed with pace to do that.
And we noticed it yesterday. As soon as the ball would go onto the right-hand side on the transition and Jake O'Brien is up the pitch, absolutely no fault of his own. The
We know
ball
what's
would go
coming.
into the box,
Yeah.
which, no disrespect, Jake O'Brien's forte is not crossing the football. We learnt that yesterday, to be fair to him. So the
Mm.
ball would go in the box and it would come straight back out. And it would go straight down that right-hand side because Jake O'Brien is further up the pitch. And
Yeah.
we saw it time and time and time again yesterday. And they hurt us from that area. They had shots on target from that area and they created chances from that area. And unless you address that situation, we're going to be completely unbalanced. So anyway, you then start talking about signings, and Everton are in advanced talks for traditionally a left winger in Jack Grealish. It's just, don't get me wrong, but by the way, there's no negative to that. I'm absolutely buzzing. I'd love to sign Jack Grealish, and it looks like it could be a deal struck, £250,000 a week. Which, by the way, me and you were calling a week ago. So I mean, all this in the know stuff, it was there, it was abundantly obvious. We were never going to pay 300 grand, but 250 grand and no loan fee, I suspect, will be the tick in the box. I think Jack is prepared to take a 50 grand pay cut as well for the season to stay in the northwest. And he's going to potentially be the talisman signing if Everton get it over the line. You know what they're like. The longer it takes, the more chance that Spurs or someone coming for him. But touch wood, it looks like it could happen. How much does he add to this team? Based on the fact that the left wing is arguably our best position with Ndiaye there.
It is, but I think Jack Grealish comes into this Everton team and this Everton squad, and straight away he's the best player we've got at the club. And that's no pop at Ndiaye. We know what we get with Ndiaye. I absolutely love Ndiaye. But when you're talking about a Jack Grealish and you're talking about an Ndiaye, I think Jack Grealish just tops it for being the best player we'll have at the club. Probably the best player we've had at the club for a long time. Probably one of the biggest signings we've done. And the Freakins wanted a statement signing, and obviously Jack Grealish looks like it's going to be that statement signing. I don't think Everton drag the heels on this deal. I think they will try and get it done quickly. They have to get it done quickly. But again, it's not a right wing. It's not a right winger.
We've just had some news come in. It's been posted on Rudy Galletti. I think he has quite a few thousand million followers on Twitter. Everton want to speed things up for Jack Grealish contracts. Contacts with Man City are expected in the coming hours to include settle bonuses and final structure of the deal. A general understanding with the player is that a deal is in place. So it does look like Jack Grealish, touch wood, will be an Everton player. And that is huge, you're right. And it's huge for the shirt sales. It's huge for the next generation of Everton fans. It's huge for everyone else. But unless Ndiaye is going to start playing on the right-hand side of the pitch, we still need to fix the right-hand side of the pitch.
I think there's a chance Grealish could play in the centre some weeks as well. And you've got
And
that option with Jack Grealish.
Alcaraz on the bench.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, not even on the bench because he hasn't pulled up any trees, has he? But listen, it's a statement signing. And I think most clubs, especially clubs like Everton, who have been poor for years, need a statement signing because I think inadvertently, when you bring someone in like that, it brings other players in as well. It makes other quality players sit up and take notice and say, Everton have got a Jack Grealish there. I wouldn't mind being part of that and playing with him week in, week out. So I do think when you've got a statement signing like Jack in the club, it does give you the pull for other players as well. And listen, the Freakins said they wanted a statement signing. Jack Grealish will be that. I have no doubt Jack Grealish will sign for Everton before the end of next week.
Well, I think by all accounts,
Tuesday, Wednesday, probably.
They want it done by tomorrow. They want him to train all week and be ready for Leeds.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, even if we can get 5 training sessions into Jack Grealish, as part of this squad going forward, I think Jack Grealish, in my opinion, even if he signs tomorrow or Tuesday, should be the first name on the team sheet against Leeds. I don't think the situation Everton are in and the position we're in, you can afford to start a Jack Grealish on the bench because we've seen this with David Moyes in the past, Michael. He brings players in and he seems to be quite loyal with players who have played there, week in, week out, because they haven't had any competition, and he does try and stay loyal to players. I just think a Jack Grealish, David Moyes will change that loyalty, and I think he will, again, I'll say it again, should be the first name on the team sheet for Leeds.
Right. Last question then, based on the fact we are playing League, and this is not a preview, but based on what you've seen this pre-season, which, let's be fair, has been rubbish. I think we've scored, what, have we scored 5 goals in total? Something like that?
We've already beat Port Vale.
Yeah, but Port Vale, we scored 2 against Man United. Did we score 1 against West Ham?
Yeah, 5 goals. The 2 Port Vale, 2 Man United, 1 West Ham.
Yeah. Oh, 1 at Quinta.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's not great. However, Jack Grealish comes into this team potentially. 1, do you start Ndiaye on the right-hand side of the pitch, knowing that he plays for his country in that position? And 2, who do you play up front?
I do think he puts Ndiaye on the right if we still haven't got a right-sided player in by the time we play Leeds. Listen, there's 22 days left of the transfer window. I have no doubt that we will bring a right winger in. I have no doubt we will. But until that happens, if it's not in by the time we do go to Leeds, and you are starting a Jack Grealish on the left, then I have no problem with Ndiaye playing on the right. I think he's very capable of playing there as well. So, yeah. But listen, even if you added Jack Grealish to this squad, and he's the only one that's added before we play Leeds, we're definitely not ready. We're not ready.
No. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I think based on Premier League experience, he plays better.
Sorry, yeah, you did ask me about the striker.
No,
yeah,
I think he starts better.
Yeah, I do think he's, and that's no indictment on Barry, Tierno Barry. I just think because Beto's played in the Premier League longer, and listen, he hasn't scored shitloads of goals. Let's be honest about it. Let's make no bones about it. But he has scored goals in the Premier League. So if he's going to address the striking options even further in the window, and we don't do that by the time we play Leeds, the answer to your question is I do think he goes with the more Premier League experienced player in Beto.
And the other question I was going to ask, just briefly, is based on it being Beto, Grealish, and Ndiaye. Who do you play in that sort of 10, or do you not play that? Do you go 4-3-3 and just have 3 workman type midfielders like Garner, and Dewsbury Hall? What do you do there?
I think he could possibly play a 4-3-3, as you say, and play them players. Dewsbury Hall in the middle, and obviously with the width that he's going to try and bring in. Obviously, we're having Jack there. Listen, Jack Grealish is capable of scoring goals. We've seen it. Jack Grealish is capable of winning your penalties. He's capable of winning, a lot of free kicks. He's probably going to be the most direct player we have at the club. So for me, when you've got someone as direct as Jack Grealish, that also helps you forwards. And we can stand here and we can sit here until we're blue in the face and we can go on about our strikers aren't good enough and they're not going to score enough goals in the Premier League. But the whole top and bottom of it also, the way you've got to look at it is we don't play to our strikers' strengths. And we don't play to Beto's strengths. It's pointless giving Beto the ball to his feet to try and hold it up to bring midfielders in, because that's not his game. His game is playing off the shoulder and running onto through balls. And a lot of the goals that he scored last season on that purple patch were exactly that, where the ball was played through the channel and he ran onto it. So we haven't played to his strengths. We might see more from Tierno Barry if he played to his strengths. Thought some of his link-up play yesterday and his hold-up play was okay. He did hold the ball up and lay it off and bring the likes of Dewsbury Hall into it. But it's a bit different in the Premier League to play in a pre-season friendly against Roma.
Yeah, agreed. Right, look, I haven't got anything else to add. I don't think there's any other sort of major breaking news, but look, it does appear that Jack Grealish, I don't want to say the words because we've been in this position. I remember Dan Juma I think he was at Everton and he ended up at Tottenham. So we've been gazumped many times before, right at the death of these things, but it does look like there is a deal agreed between Jack Grealish and Everton. Everton have been allowed to talk to Jack. A deal is agreed in principle, and it literally is just the final structuring of however we're sorting Manchester City out. My guess is that we're covering Jack's wages, bar 50 grand of it, which is a huge saving to Manchester City. And if Everton, Everton get 10th, they get a couple of million quid. Everton get in Europe, they might get 5 million quid, whatever it works out to. But I can pretty much guess that Everton aren't going to be paying a fee for Jack Grealish when he's going to be earning £12 million, which is more than any other Everton player, I believe, in the history of our football team.
I also think what they're probably looking at as part of the deal structure as well is, I think I'm pretty right in saying that Jack Grealish only has 2 years left on his contract. So obviously he's going to be at Everton for the first year of that. So then what happens to Jack in the final year of his contract? If he pulls up trees at Everton and, when he settles in and listen, he takes to the club like we've seen some really good players get a feeling for Everton and turn out to be Everton fans and love them. I think if we can get a Jack Grealish who be seen at Aston Villa for the 12 months, then hopefully there's something in place where we can sort of get him on a permanent after this 12-month loan deal, because as I say, he does only have 12 months left once his loan period with Everton finishes.
Interesting stuff. Right, well, John, we'll leave it there. Thank you everyone that did come to Flyers. As we said earlier, it was a tremendous day, and your support was lovely. I want to end with just talking about a couple that came in, and they were the very first people into Flyers, and he won't mind me sharing his little story because he's wrote a book about it, which we are going to be in communication about him maybe coming on the channel and promoting his book a little bit. But it was a wife and a husband who, the gentleman is terminally ill, sort of last 6 months type thing, and he wasn't downbeaten, he wasn't trodden on. He had a massive smile on his face. He's written a book talking about his experience fighting cancer over the last 10 years. And obviously it was incredibly close to me because of what's been recently going on. And by the way, thank you to everyone that asked about how my mum's getting on, because it meant a lot. But I just want to say to those two people, if you are watching this, you're always welcome on this channel. You were fantastic. It was really, really nice to get to know you both, and I know how difficult the situation is. We've all had family members that have lost cancer, but for you to be so positive, happy, and a real ray of sunshine in what a lot of people would perceive to be obviously not a good situation, I just want to say it's massive credit to the both of you, and pray for miracles, because you were such a lovely couple, and the channel will be more than happy to do anything we can with books, promoting positive stories, and being an open forum for people. So if anyone is struggling with anything, we do read the comments. We don't reply to them all because we do get a few, but we do read them, and if there is anything that we can do to help anyone, please give us a shout, and we will do our best to accommodate where and how in any way.
Yeah. Here.
Right. We are now officially done. Chances are there's a strong chance that Everton will continue to be sponsored by Flyers for the remainder of the season. It was originally up to Brighton. The contract ends after Brighton, but it was clearly a huge success, and I think it's something that we could be looking forward to, and that could mean new branded tops, hats, things like that. and maybe even our own can of beer. I mean, that would be interesting, wouldn't it, John?
Yeah, it would be. But if Matt's watching this, we have seen some of the figures that Jack Grealish could be earning. So if you can match that in any way, shape, or form, us two will be very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mate. £250,000 a week, please. The toughies. See you soon. Peace.